I want to talk to you about godliness, and I would like to suggest to you that is our assignment. That if you are here today and you have been redeemed, saved, you've been saved for the purposes of becoming godly. We stay busy as people and as ministries, doing a lot of things often not tied to the assignment. Good things even. But wind up with a failing grade when it comes to what the assignment is. Let me tell you about this assignment, because when you first hear it, you may say, okay, yeah, that's the Christian thing. But this assignment is very important because 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 8 says, "For bodily discipline is only of little profit, but godliness is profitable for all things, since it holds promise for the present life and also the life to come." He says this assignment, this thing called godliness, is not only good for the sweet by and by, it is good for the nasty here and now. He says for this life and the life to come, because every Christian has two lives. The life you now live and the life you will live. He says godliness is profitable, beneficial for this life and the life to come. So whatever this thing is called godliness, you want it because it has a profit motive to it. Said it is profitable. Now, let me tell you what godliness is not before I tell you what godliness is, because that will help you to better understand what it is when you know what it ain't. In 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 5, we read these words. He says, "Holding a form of godliness, although they deny its power, avoid such men as these." He talks about a form of godliness, something that looks like it but is not it. The Greek word for form is the word that means shape or silhouette or appearance or shadow or outline. When you see the shadow of a person, you see their outline without their substance. In other words, the shadow of a person is not the substance of the person, it's just the outline of the person. That's the word for form. You can look godly and there be no substance. You can have the appearance of godliness and there be no reality. You can look the part. How do you know if you're looking the part versus having the part? He says, having the form of godliness but denying the power. He says, you know it's not godly when there's no power attached to it. Because true godliness has power connected to it. This form of godliness you know as religion. Religion gives the impression of something related to God that's real. I mean, you can look religious. You can wear religious clothes. You can use religious vocabulary. You can speak Christianese. You can carry a religious book, the Bible. You can hang out with religious people and there be no power. Many of us knows what it is to go to church for years and not be changed. To be in the vicinity of God. And I know better for it, because I was in the form and I was at the location, but I was missing the power. Going to church in and of itself will not have the power to make you more godly, like going into a garage will not have the power to turn you into a car. The location in and of itself is not sufficient for the purpose. Godliness is to be associated with power, like when Pharaoh's magicians threw down their sticks and it became snakes. It had the form of reality until Moses' snake ate them up. Because Moses' snake didn't just have the appearance of a snake, it had power. So the fact of our godlessness is demonstrated by our lack of power, even though we still carry the form. I mean, everything about where you're sitting now fits the form. There are pews here, you know it's a church. There's a cross in front, you know it's a church. There's a pulpit here, there's a preacher here, there's a choir stand here. There have been hymns that are being sung. If you're looking for form, you've got it. For many people, church is God's donut shop. They want a sweet song. They want a sweet word. They want a sweet atmosphere, only to discover they are no better off having come to the shop. Because you can have a form of godliness. You can have the look. You can have the paraphernalia of it, without its reality and without its power, outline, without substance. But godliness, he says, has power tied to it. It's a great game. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how to make a profit by being godly. In verse 11, he brings up godliness again. So even in this one chapter, we've seen 4 times already this word godliness. The Greek word eusebia means reverence toward God. Here is the definition of godliness. Godliness may be defined as a lifestyle that consistently reflects the character of God. Godliness is a lifestyle. It's not an event. It's a way of living, a lifestyle. It's the way you roll. It's how you operate. It is a lifestyle that is consistent with the character of God. Now, watch this. Godliness assumes you agree with something. So I don't want to make this assumption, but this assumption is everything. Godliness assumes that you agree and do not disagree with God. Now that may sound like a simple statement, but it's deeper than it sounds. You can't be godly and disagree with God. If you're disagreeing with God, you cannot be godly. Because once you disagree with God, you have made yourself your own idol. Once you say, I don't think God's right on this one, you just judge God. And if you judge God, you became God. Another God is an idol. So you just built a monument to yourself when you disagree with God, which means you cannot become godly. Godliness assumes what the scripture says when it says, let God be true and every man a liar. That when God and I disagree, I'm wrong. When God and my peeps disagree, they're wrong. When God and my professors disagree, they're wrong. When God and the rich folk disagree, they're wrong. One of the things that keep us from godliness is that we keep debating God. One thing about a spiritual Christian, they hurt when God hurts. When they make God sad, they get sad. When they make God smile, they're full of joy. Why? Because God and me are on the same page. When you lose your appetite, you're sick. You lose your appetite for an extended amount of time, something wrong with you. Because that's why the doctor always want to know, how's your appetite? Because your appetite dictates your health. So if there's little hunger for God, for his word, to spend time with him, to include him, if there's little hunger for that, that's because sickness has set in. Or maybe you're not alive at all and have never been born again. But here we go. Here's what we're going to do. Here's my challenge to me, to you, and to us. I want you, for this year, to work on a godliness degree. I just showed you where God says the godly person gets great gain. So if the profit motive is a motivation for you, I want to offer you a doctorate degree in godliness. However, the higher you go in your degree, the more things you got to move out of the way so you can get it. You can't carry on the same program and get a degree unless you're going to take all your life to do it. You got to adjust some things because the degree is worth staying up all night or to not looking at this TV show or not doing that or skipping that or not partying over here because I got to get this degree. I got to get out of here. In the way of sports language, how bad do you want it? Or do you want to do like some folk who spend all their lives in school and never wind up with a degree? They just pick a class here and a class there. Here, class there, class everywhere, class. A little God here, a little God there. Here, God, there, God, everywhere, God. But they never wind up with paper that's profitable. There's profit to godliness, he said.